Jet Li in the 90s was pretty big, and he did a movie by the name of Black Mask that was kind of like a nod towards Bruce Lee's character called Kato in The Green Hornet. And yeah, I got a physical copy to check out, and man, this is the first time that we've seen it without all of that stupid dubbing. So let's check it out. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review and sort of like ingredients of a new release by Eureka called Black Mask from 1996. This is where Tommy Boy Records, the hip-hop production company who was putting out all these different artists, decided to use their entire catalog of music to spice up the movie. And they only included the English dub. Now, if you were a fan of this before this came out, you probably were pretty upset because it's been a couple of decades now since you've been able to get a real copy of it. There was an entire soundtrack, a lot of really great like sounds and everything that went along with this silly, crazy, wild, superhero-like action film that they kind of dubbed over. And yeah, finally, Eureka has finally brought it to us untouched, but also includes the original US release. So we get a little bit of everything in this release, and I'll get into all that stuff later. There's actually like 5 different versions of the film or something in this one, so I had to try to watch a couple of them to see what the difference were, but I'll go over that later. So yeah, I was a big fan of Jet Li growing up in the 90s. And I really enjoyed a lot of his different sword style stuff that he did, as well as some of his modern action stuff like Fist of Legend or Black Mask or many other films. A lot of people's first introduction to Jet Li was Lethal Weapon 4, which, if you're a Jet Li fan from before that, you were a little disturbed by it because Jet Li was always a hero, and in Lethal Weapon 4, he played a bad guy, and he didn't really have that much of a meaty role because I guess he didn't speak a lot of English, and so they didn't really give him a lot of roles or parts in that. And Mel Gibson kind of like manhandles him in it, and it kind of sat wrong with a lot of us. Jet Li was the fucking star, you assholes. Anyway, so Eureka's finally put out this new release, and man, does it look really great. You get the Taiwanese extended version, the regular version. The extended version has parts of the Cantonese language and Mandarin language and English language that extends it out to about an hour and 42 minutes. It typically runs at about an hour and 38 minutes and 51 seconds, essentially. This one is like, it gives you every version. The English, the Taiwanese, the Mandarin, all of them. We finally got a full Hong Kong release too, which has the original score and everything in it, which I was really actually very happy to see. Man, I was like a real big fan of this movie. This is just a lot of fun. This movie is essentially about Jet Li, who plays a librarian while technically being a part of a super soldier group that he once was in, where they basically cut off the nerves of this guy and his crew to go out and fight crime. They couldn't feel anything whenever they got shot or hit or anything. Pretty much started losing their emotions even. And they became these super soldiers that were sent out to do like some pretty gnarly tasks. And when the government decided to kill them off because they couldn't control them, they decided to kind of go their own way and fight crime still for themselves. So in the future, Jet Li has escaped, disappeared, and left his crew behind to go do his own thing, while this sort of X-Men Magneto villain guy is like rounding up the super soldiers to save them, killing off all of the gang leaders in Hong Kong, all the triads. And suddenly their worlds clash again when in Hong Kong, Jet Li, being the good guy that he normally plays, doesn't like the fact that they're just murdering people indiscriminately. The super soldier group that he was a part of has kind of gotten a little out of hand, and he's sort of hiding in plain sight as a librarian, who he's also befriended this really awesome fucking cop who's like an inspector. Super fucking cool guy, man. He's played by Ching Wan Lao, who this is a phenomenal performance by him. They team up together and kind of have this sort of cat and mouse thing with each other, because technically Jet Li's the bad guy, even though he's a good guy. And so the cop doesn't really know, because they're supposed to be bad guys, you know, but they befriend each other and fight on the same side essentially in this movie in a way. The cast in this is pretty meaty. You got people like Anthony Wong, who's been a part of many different films all over the place in Hong Kong. He's a huge mega star that started out in some of the category 3 Hong Kong films back in the day. He plays a gang leader that's pretty pretty nasty in this, but also kind of apropos for his role. We also have Karen Mok, who plays Tracy, one of the librarians, who's kind of friends with Jet Li's character called Tsui Chik. But yeah, there's a lot of fun things in this movie to really enjoy. Yes, it's a little schlocky and silly like the 90s used to be, but for me, that's kind of like the sweet spot in a lot of ways for a lot of these types of films. The 80s and 90s of action films in, you know, Hong Kong were fucking awesome. This is like a little bit more of a mainstream budget. So we got Choi Hark, who is one of the bigger producers, writers, and directors out there. He was kind of known for being a pretty big name, and he had put his stamp on a lot of different films, whether he directed, written, or produced them. He produced this film as well as also helped write this film. And of course, this one is directed by Daniel Lee, who had done a few other films that weren't really as popular as this one, although he did sort of do a thriller romance movie called Till Death Do Us Part that was really popular, but nothing really reached as popular as the Black Mask in that movie. This one has Wu Ping Yin, who is a famous stunt coordinator and choreographer. And a lot of those choreographers in Hong Kong were pretty much like the director too. You know, they basically did all of the fight stuff and they choreographed it. No director touched that. It was all their stuff. That's why you see a lot of the acting parts done by the director and then the action stuff done by the actual stunt coordinator and everything like that. They were just like amazing. The stunts in this one are really big. There's some gore, there's some violence, there's a lot of stabbing. Because the characters can't feel pain, there's a lot of really fun things that happen in the movie. Like they lose limbs without realizing it or caring, or getting shot without stopping, or, you know, it's just they're completely numb from the neck down and they can't feel a damn thing because they had some sort of surgical process that canceled out their nerve. It's pretty cool. And the fight scenes are really fun. There are definitely a 90s variety of action style that you see there. It's not a very current one, but man, there's a lot of really cool wire work and like just explosions. There is also some CGI explosions, but you do what you can with what you got. And I really enjoyed all the characters and the certain dimensions between each of them. He's trying to hide his identity, Jet Li's character, and the inspectors investigating these people who have these superpowers essentially. And there's just a lot of really crazy fun things that happen in this movie that are highly entertaining. But yeah, I would say this is an easy buy. I'm probably going to pick it up myself. As a matter of fact, MVD Entertainment has like a sale on it right now for like $30, and you can pick it up from Diabolic DVD for $30 as well. And I think everywhere else is fluctuates. So, but you can pick it up now. It comes 2 discs, and we can kind of go over the ingredients there in a second. I'd say this easy 8.5 out of 10. This is definitely a highly rewatchable film. It's not going to be as gritty as something like John Woo films necessarily, but it has some charm like that in it, and the characters are really super dynamic. Maybe not as dark, but there is a darker sort of schlocky side to this. It's not a schlocky film, I just want to be clear. It just is a little rough around the edges in that time period that was like, that's how they did it. But yeah, let's get into some of the ingredients on this film, and we'll talk about that now. Now, I'm a little late to the party on this. I appreciate MVD and Eureka for sending these copies so I can tell you guys about it, because I know a lot of you guys who follow me enjoy some of these films as well. There's a lot of stuff on both of these discs, but the disc 1 has the Hong Kong version, both versions. There's like a 5.1 and a stereo mix. And there's also the commentary from Frank Zhang from the New York Asian Film Festival that you can check out on the Hong Kong version. We also have the English versions on there, so you can watch any version of that you want. And I think there's another, the export version, it's Mike Leader and Arnie Venema who do the audio commentary on that version. And on this disc, we also get a lot of interviews in there. There is one from film critic Andrew Heskins, who's from EasternKicks.com. We also have brand new interview from Leon Hunt, author of Kung Fu Cult Masters, from the Bruce Lee to Crouching Tiger. Also the stuntman Mike Lambert, who starred in The Black Mask as one of the blonde guys. He starred in 2 different roles, but he's one of the last guys that Jet Li fights in the movie. There's also a archival making of featurette, trailers, the reversible sleeve on the thing. And on the second disc, you get the limited edition disc, which has the alternate Taiwanese cut of the film, which is an extended version of The Black Mass featuring all the unique footage from the various releases. So it has a little bit of the Hong Kong, which is in Cantonese. It has a little bit of Mandarin in there, and it also has some of the English, all kind of compacted into every bit that you can get, which is like the hour and 43 minute version. But yeah, it's all in here, and I gotta say, you know, this is a really freaking fantastic release from Eureka. I'm probably gonna pick it up for myself, you know, for 30 bucks. I mean, you really can't beat that. I figure I might as well add it to my collection because I'm trying to get all of these like action films that I've always liked that are kind of adjacent to horror. I know some of you guys only do the horror here, but trust me on this. When you watch some of these films, you might get addicted to them just like I did. You know, some of them are better than others. Jet Li was one of my favorites at the time. So, you know, this is one of those kind of nostalgia trips for me, and I would love to hear what you guys think of the film as well. So if you're in the comment section, please let me know. Are you gonna pick up the 2-disc collector's edition? I have all the links down below if you want to pick it up. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.